Computer. Amazing. Okay. So hopefully everybody can see the slides there. Can I have a thumbs up if everybody can? Katrina, can you see? Yay! Katrina's got her camera on, which means I can see that. Yeah, you can hear me and everything. Brilliant. Okay, so without further ado, I am turning the view off now. So yeah, I am Charlie Beswick. Let's move that down here. Mum to Oliver and Harry, if you don't already know, best-selling author, mentor to mums with an altered life, and advocate for parent carers in the workplace. I have a charity. I'm a cheeseaholic. It is official, and I love gym. That's enough about me. So today's Tips in 20 session is about the worries that we have for the future. And this isn't just for our children's future, this is for ours as well. And when you registered for this, I did send out an email and just said, get in touch with me if you've got any worries or specific concerns. So I'm just going to go through the worries that came back from the email that I sent out. So the first few are about us as mums. And the first one was, what will be the impact on my friendships of me having a child with disabilities? And the hard truth is that you will lose friends along this journey, unfortunately. And it's through nobody's fault, nobody's to blame. It's just the difference in our lives creates this gap. And some friends are happy to bridge it and others tend to drift away. And it doesn't mean that they didn't value your friendship. It just means that in their own way, they are struggling to adapt to your life as well. I have recently written an ebook called Dear Friends, This is What I Want You to Know About Life for Me and My Child with SEND. So in the replay that I send out, I will attach that because it's really powerful to be able to send something like that to a friend and just say, you know, I know that, you know, you've been a fantastic friend to me. I'm just sending you this ebook in case it's of any interest. And just be open to and be brave, be open to the fact that friendships are going to change, okay, and a part of that is grieving that loss of friendship. So it can be a huge moment for parents, but also be open to the fact that you are going to be making new friends within the SEND community. I was very resistant to this at the beginning, didn't want to be a special needs mum, didn't want to make friends with other women just because they've got a special needs child. And it was only really until the boys were about 12 or 13 I embraced the special needs community, and I'm now kicking myself that I didn't do it sooner. So do be open-minded about the friends that you can meet. And initially, a lot of the time that's online, but then there are opportunities to meet up face to face as well. And be brave when it comes to being honest with friends. You know, if they're wanting a play date, then, you know, be brave to say, do you know what, it's not always great for me and Harry. I'm going to use Harry as an example because he runs off, I end up getting more stressed. It would be amazing if you guys could come to me, or if we could go during a quieter time, or if I could bring my mum along so she could watch him, or, you know, kind of think outside of the box a little bit to keep those friendships going. And as I say, those friends that do love you and appreciate you, either now or the ones that come into your life, will be more than happy to make those adaptations. But it is a hard and a bit of a sad truth that you will lose friendships along the way. So I'm just going to put that out there. And yeah, it's something that I will cover in the membership that I'll mention later. Another question was, what's going to happen to my career and my independence? And we all know that, you know, statistically, it is the mother that the childcare falls on the majority of the time. Lots of dads do a sterling job, but they are by far the ones that are out in the workplace. And that means that often careers have to go on hold or end altogether. Mine went on the back burner for a little while as a teacher, and even now I only teach 2 days a week to fit around Harry's needs, and that's coming to an end this year as things for Harry are changing as well. So, but it is just for now, it's not always forever. So if you are in the position where you have lost a career or you're unable to start a career, it's not always going to be like that. Our children do change, they do develop, their needs do change. It's not always easier, but it can be different, which allows you some sort of flexibility. And what I would say is to really get in touch with what matters to you. What are your values? As a teacher, My value was all around making a difference, making an impact. And so I've been able to do that in an online space that serves my values. And yes, it hasn't produced the income that teaching gave me for many years, but it has fulfilled me in a different way. And with regards to finances and income, if you're in the UK, I would suggest reaching out to the Citizens Advice, because they run workshops around what carers are eligible for in terms of grants and benefits and things like that. So there's some really good sessions out there. If you're outside of the UK, then there may be also other voluntary organisations that you can reach out to. I'm not too sure what they are, but if you're outside of the UK and you know one, please do let me know and I'll put that into future webinars. Another worry, and this is a really common one, how do I make time for my other children? And this is really tricky because this initially requires a little bit of a mindset shift, because we are wired, certainly I am wired to believe that I am the only person that can stay with Harry. I know Harry inside out. I am fluent in Harry. I'm the one that he is dependent on. But what I've learned over the years is that I'm creating that dependency to a degree by not sharing, by not allowing other people to help. So his dad will have him, obviously, and my husband, his stepdad, is amazing at sharing that and very intuitive now. But that's because, and he's really good at saying, take a step back. He tells me off, take a step back. It's not always got to be you. Let me help. And I'm granted, I've got a unicorn for a husband. He is pretty cool. But it's really important to have those conversations and just say, look, my other child, in my case, that's Oliver. Oliver needs a little bit of time from me. Can you watch Harry? Can you do something with Harry? Can you just sit in a different room with Harry and allow me to have some time with Oliver or your other child? And the key to this doesn't have to be going out of the house, even if that's an issue. It's about intentionality. It's about really being very focused and intentional with the time that you are spending with your other child. So that could be, right, family meal this week, you're choosing what we want. What's your favourite meal in the world? What shall we eat that you really like? Or it could be, let's have a movie night. Okay, somebody comes round to take your other child or take them into another room. Not take them away, because I know that's very, very unlikely and impossible. But even if they sit somewhere else with them, and you just have that time for a movie for an hour and a half. If you haven't got an hour and a half, is there a series that you can watch that's got 25-minute episodes and you can sit down once a week, so that you've got that pattern? And it's all about being intentional. So 10 minutes a week, or 10 minutes twice a week, is much more powerful than 3 hours once in a blue moon. So you've got enough on your mind. I get that. I know that. But I also know that the guilt that you feel when you're unable to spend time with your other children or your friends or extended family is also weighs heavy. So it's about choosing your hard. Okay, so it might be difficult to organize things a little bit, but it's worth it because you're scratching that itch of, I feel like I'm letting them down. So that's really important. So just be present, and as I say, be intentional. This was one that came up a couple of times. What will my child miss out on in their life? And you've got holidays, going away with their friends, sports clubs, driving, dating, the prom, parties, university, all of that. The list is absolutely endless when we realize that our child has got a diagnosis. But what I want to say is that grief is our grief. We are grieving their loss of these things. And these are things that they will never experience. So, for example, I've never been to somewhere, I don't know, like Belgium. I can't tell you what Belgium's like. I don't miss Belgium. I've never known what Belgium is like. Okay, so there's a little bit of mindfulness and a little bit of work around managing our own expectations and our own wishes and desires and dreams for our children, because a lot of the time the grief that we feel is ours. It's our loss, and actually they are very, very happy in their own lives, and they will find and create their own happiness and in their own time. And it's about us sort of supporting them to do that and making sure that the choices they do have and the experiences that they do have are memorable, are as good as we can possibly make it for them. And those are the things that will keep them going. So they won't miss out. on things they've never known, in the same way that we don't. But that's something for us to work on as parents. The next question was, the next worry, sorry, was how are they going to develop? Like, I don't know what their speech and language is going to be like. I don't know how their friendships are going to develop. I don't know what their personal care is going to be like. For example, Harry's 17, he's 18 this year, and I'm still dealing with his personal care. And there's good news and bad news with this. Okay, the bad news is we don't know. We haven't got a crystal ball and we can't look into the future. And to worry about that now robs us of the moments we have here. And we can be worrying about things, and by the time we get to that outcome, we realize that either it's fine, it's sorted anyway, or it's a completely different worry that we didn't expect that completely blindsided us. So I can't say don't worry, because we do, but also just bear in mind that people change, situations change. And unlike neurotypical children, whose progress will tend to sort of progress on an even trajectory up until a certain point where they'll plateau, children who are neurodivergent or have additional needs, disabilities, they have a spiky profile. So what we mean by that is that they will develop apparently lots in one go, and then they'll plateau for ages and ages and ages. And Andrew and I comment often when Harry's losing sleep or when there's changes, we'll say he's due a spine. We're ready now to know when he's due to take that next jump. But it can mean 18 months, 2 years of feeling like nothing's changed. And in that time, there are unhelpful, unhealthy obsessions and phases that Harry's gone through that are really difficult. I'm not going to lie and say it's really easy. Some of them have been particularly challenging, but it is about remembering it's one day at a time, because one day they just stop and you just go, what? Like, when did that stop? So, it is really important that we keep ourselves very grounded in one day at a time. What can I do today to support them and to support myself as I'm dealing with this? Because it's a big deal. This question comes up: what if they don't get the support they deserve? Now, again, I would love to say that your child will get all the support that they need in the world. However, we live in the real world, and we know that's not always the case, whether that's education professionals or healthcare professionals or social care. There's a variety of professionals that will at some point probably work with your child, and it can be a battle. It can be a battle to advocate for what your child needs. And I've got a very exciting partnership coming up with an organisation that provide advocacy, who are going to come on and do a tips in 20 with us. So I will, sort of stay tuned for that one. I'll keep you notified of that one. But for today, because I'm just touching on these subjects, what I want to remind you is that the squeaky wheel is the one that gets oiled. So from my experience, both as a parent carer and as a teacher for 16 years, it's the parents that are on our case that things happen for eventually. And I think there's 3 things that I would say particularly if you're at the start of this journey, but it's never too late to do this. First thing is to keep a record in a central place. So whether that's the notes on your phone, whether it's your diary, keep a record of the date, the time, and the name of the person that you spoke to. If you're asking for names, they're much more likely to be accountable. And also, at the end of those conversations, just let them know that you will be following up. So, for example, if you are looking whether your child can go to panel to find out if they're going to get any HCP, which in the UK is an educational healthcare plan, they might say, okay, great, we'll put this forward. And then I might say, right, well, I'll give you a call in 3 weeks. And they could say, sorry, oh, well, panel isn't actually until the last Thursday of every month. At which point I then say, right, okay, all right, so that's that date. I'll be in touch the week after. Is that okay? Yes, that's fine. You almost seek permission to be a pain in the neck. But by doing that, you've got that agreement, and you don't always feel like you're battering on doors, although there is an element of that as well, I have to say. But just prepare them that you're going to be following up, so you don't look and feel like, not about looking, doesn't matter what you look like, but you don't feel like the naggy parent that's difficult. None of us want to be that parent. Most of us will be at some point, and that's fine, because we are here to get what our children deserve, but be the squeaky wheel. And again, a little bit more on advocacy coming soon. This is huge. How will my child navigate puberty? It's huge and it is rarely discussed. And let's face it, you know, I don't know what your teenage years were like, but hormones ravaged me as a typical teenager. So navigating puberty is difficult at the best of times. And then you throw in developmental delay, lack of communication, delayed understanding, and it is a minefield. But, you know, there are healthcare professionals out there for girls. It's really important that you're having conversations with GPs and practitioners, possibly around putting girls on the pill or some sort of medication to regulate or stop their periods, if that's what you feel is the right thing for your daughter. With boys, there doesn't exist the sort of beta blockers idea that I thought there was. However, the solution for boys, from my personal experience, has been masturbation. And yes, that's difficult to get your head around, particularly if you've got a young boy. But Harry had a water infection in 2019, and for the following 2 years, absolutely hated his penis and just wouldn't wee, really struggled. I won't go into too much detail with that one, but it was very, very difficult. And he obviously stopped masturbating because he didn't want to touch himself. He didn't want to have anything to do with his down below area at all. And what we realized is that he became far more aggressive. His sleep pattern got even worse. His behavior got more extreme, more exaggerated. And it was because he got loads of testosterone bottled up. So since that's calmed down and he's returned to a regular, healthy Harry time, as we refer to it as, he's much better. He's much calmer. And so, yes, it's a difficult conversation, and it's one that I am more than happy to have privately with people if you want to just unpick that a little bit with me. But it, you know, it is quite important for boys that they are doing that as well. This is the biggie. This, without a doubt, is always the big question for parents like us. What happens when I die? What happens when I am the only person that understands my child completely, inside out and upside down? Who's going to be around when I'm not here anymore? And so my advice on that really is to get legal advice. And I know that's hard, and I know it's big, but by the time you are ready to do this, to take that step, it's usually in response to an issue that's happened. You're usually either at crisis point or something is about to happen. And it's about, then you are racing against the clock and might not get the best sort of provision and advice for your child. So it's not something that any of us ever want to do. But if you put it off until you're ready, it's going to be too late, or there's a chance it's going to be too late. So MenCap have free webinars, which I would definitely recommend looking into. They do partner with an organisation called Renaissance Legal, who we use to set up a trust fund for Harry. I'm not affiliated to Renaissance at all, but they were amazing for us. The trust fund did cost about £2,300 to set up, so I'm not going to lie, it's not cheap. So if you want to check locally, and I've got a note here so I don't get this wrong, you need to look for a STEP qualified lawyer, STEP, who specialises in working with families of disabled relatives. And you need to get a quote for a will and a letter of wishes and a trust fund if that is suitable to be outside of the will. So the letter of wishes is gorgeous and it accompanies the trust fund, or definitely the trust fund. I don't know if it works with the will, but it's basically, this is my ideal life for Harry when I'm not around. So my letter of wishes says things like, the money that you are given in trust for his care has to be spent on music therapy, trampoline sessions, going outdoors and having fresh air walks, up-to-date technology. So you're almost leaving this ideal list of activities, excursions, equipment, habits, routines that suits your child, and you can update that as and when you need to. So that's really, really important. And if that feels too big, then start really small. Just say next week, okay, I'm going to just research lawyers. I'm just going to see if there are any in my area, and leave that for the week. And then the week after, right, I'm going to ring 2 or 3 and just speak to them, and then leave that for the week. And then the week after, okay, I'm going to decide to speak to one and make an appointment. go and make an appointment. And then you may do nothing for ages and ages. It might be 6, 12 months, but at least the ball is rolling. And I have to say, hand on heart, the peace of mind that comes from knowing that Harry is financially secure and that he's got practical things around him is enormous. And that has eclipsed the worries that I've got. It won't ever go away. I won't ever accept that Harry is going to be left as a vulnerable adult in the world when I'm not around anymore. But it does alleviate some of that worry to know that I've got really rigid support in place for him when that happens. Whoops. And the last one, what if they are seen as a burden to friends and family? So this could be when you get older, it could be when you've passed away, which is why I've ended with this one. And what I will say is that the people who love them and know them won't ever see them as a burden. The people who are with them for obligation will drift away in time. And I've learned that from Harry's past teacher. So he's now transitioned to college from high school, but I am in touch as much with his high school staff now as I was when he was there, because they genuinely love him. They genuinely care about him. And those are the people that are there when you need them. If you are somebody who doesn't go out much, or who, for many reasons, does feel quite isolated, then I would say to try and make links with the community, whether that's going and having a drink in the coffee shop together once a week. Get your child, your young person, known and recognised in the community, because when you're not around anymore, the other community will know them, and they will be aware of them, and they'll be desensitised to their differences, and in that way just see that the person opposed to the disability. So that's really important. Just check that. I was going to say actually something there. Yeah, have conversations with people, you know, that will be left to care for your child. So I'm having conversations all the time with Oliver, with Benedicta and Harrison, that's my stepchildren as well, around what I expect for them. And I expect them to live their lives, and I expect them to have a really happy, good life. But I would like them to check in on Harry at times. So it's about having that conversation when the time is appropriate. Okay, it's not. Oliver used to say to me when he was 7, "I'll buy a house and Harry can live with me, Mum, and you never need to worry." And that would make me cry. That it didn't make me feel better. It made me feel worse, because we don't want our children wings to be clipped. But at the same time, it's their choice, and the people that love them the most won't be going anywhere. So I hope that kind of makes sense. And I've popped here a message around the membership wait list. So I am launching a membership in April, May time, it's going to be. If you want to go on the wait list to find out more, pop your name and email address in the chat, either for everybody to see or privately to me. If you just click on the link on the arrow where it says everyone, if you click in your name and your email address, because in that membership, we're going to have workshops around building confidence and skills in these areas. We're going to have some fabulous expert speakers. I've got a couple of really great speakers already lined up to come into the group. We're going to have group mentoring calls. We're going to have a conference. It's going to be amazing. And this really is going to be the place where we can build those solid foundations for you so that you can deal with everything externally with some peace of mind and clarity. So I hope that's made sense to everyone, and I hope you've enjoyed that. We have finished just 2 minutes over, but that's okay. So I'm just going to stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions. If you do, then you can pop them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask me. I'm just going to stop recording. And just say that if you are watching this on the replay, then yeah, I'm stopping recording now, just so that people have got confidentiality with the questions.